What is going on, everyone? I hope you're having a fantastic day, and as always, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I greatly appreciate that, as always. Now, today I'm going to be jumping back on the bandwagon again. Certainly not the first, and definitely not the last, but I'm going to be taking a shot at my own personal tier list for the Pokemon main series or mainline games. So everything from Gen 1, Red and Blue, all the way up to the modern-day Scarlet and Violet games. None of the filler stuff, nothing like Gale of Darkness or Conquest or anything like that, just the juicy ones. Also, it is worth mentioning that this is just my opinion, so please don't hate me down below. I definitely just want love down there. And speaking of opinions, I definitely am curious to hear what yours are down below. I definitely think it could be fun to compare the two together and just compare everybody's list. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this tier list. Alright, so I did kind of jumble these up that way where we weren't just kind of going down a list and then it felt generic that way. So I do kind of have things in a bit of an order, but kind of a random order. So this is what we're working with here. You can kind of see the order we're going to be going with, but starting off with, of course, the originals, we have Red and Blue. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say green anyways. I know not everybody's probably played it, and so it's okay if you don't want to include it in here, but they're basically the same thing, even though it's probably not as good as Red and Blue. So Gen 1, Red, Blue, and Green, if you want to include that. They're the originals. They're kind of like the classic goats. They're not the best. They're not the worst. They're very flawed, if you didn't know. But if you're a Pokemon fan and you haven't played the original games, please check these out. You may or may not have a terrible time. That's completely up to you, but I definitely think you should check it out. Even if you don't beat it, I think you can. Anybody can beat these games. They're definitely hard. They're definitely busted and broken, but they're super fun. It's fun to see, you know, where everything came from. Even if you can't always tell what Pokemon you're looking at, definitely worth a playthrough. That being said, I have to be completely real here, and I'm probably going to drop them into C, even though I've played these 1,000 times and I will play it 1,000 more times. I'm trying to be real here, and they're great, but they're not perfect, so I'm going to put them in C for now. Now, moving essentially to the very end of the list here, we've got Scarlet and Violet. Very fun, I'll say that, but I think everybody knows that they were a little buggy, a little not ready for launch, I guess you could say. So, flaws and all, I didn't really experience those too much, but I know that they existed. Still a very fun game. Terastallizing's okay. It's not my favorite. It's no megas, but it's okay. It kind of feels weird to put these above the original games, but I'm going to do that. If you would have asked me 5 years ago, I probably would have put the Red and Blue like in A, but it's just not that good. I love them, but they're just not that good. But I think I can probably put Scarlet and Violet in B. They're not perfect. I definitely don't care for DLC or anything like that. I liked the free roaming, but I think if it would have been like the level scaling, like you can do the gym leaders in any order, but like if you save the bug lady for last, I mean it's a cakewalk. It's nothing. I think if they would have had like level scaling, which we've totally seen in ROM hacks, but I think that would have maybe been able to place it a little bit higher. You know, they just give it a little bit more time, cook it a little bit more, but for now, B. Moving on to my favorite generation, we've got Gen 2, Gold and Silver, sorry. Fantastic games, like literally darn near perfect. I'm going to put those in A. There's no way they're not A. There's no conceivable world where they're below an A. It's hard not to put them in S, but there is better. This, of course, introduced the Dark and Steel type, which is really cool. It's also got, in my opinion, of course, the best sprite work in the Pokemon universe. The thing is just quite as good as it. Gen 2, it just looks the best. It really is. And it's also got like the best ROM hacks out there as well. So I'm going to comfortably put that in A. It's just, it took the awesomeness of Gen 1 and literally doubled it by having 2 regions, which we still really haven't seen again to this day, except for remakes, of course, so just great all around. Now we've got Legends Arceus. Definitely not as good as Scarlet and Violet, in my opinion. I wish there was something in between B and C, you know? I kind of want to put it in C, but maybe I will. I'll put it in C for now. I might change that. It's great. I love the open world stuff. I love the Hisuian forms, I think is what they're called. The Dex is great. I love the idea of it, but I'm a more traditional kind of guy. I like gym leaders. I like the Elite Four. I didn't like the lack of trainer battles, so, you know, just all those things kind of combined. It kind of was a little bit of a miss for me, but I definitely liked where Scarlet and Violet sort of improved upon it, but I guess you could say improve, sort of, but that I'm going to put it in C for now. All right, Gen 3, we've got Ruby and Sapphire. I was definitely a Sapphire main growing up. I got that one. Great games. They're great, but for some reason, like at the halfway point, they just get boring to me sometimes. I guess I'll maybe for now put that in C as well. They're great. Like I can play through them no problem, but too much water, as they say. There's a lot of water, and that's like kind of the halfway point, maybe a little bit before that. And I get a little bored. It's not as cool as like FireRed and Leaf Green. Like those are the better for that gen and that like style of artwork and everything. Like it looks great. It is a great game, but it just gets a little meh kind of halfway through in my opinion. But still a solid game. Definitely fun. Sword and Shield. I actually really liked these games when they first came out. They were super duper fun. They had the DLC. The first one was okay, like with like Cub Fu or whatever, or maybe not Cub Fu. I don't know. But the little fighting bear, I really liked that. In general, I don't really care for Pokemon DLC. I don't think it needs to exist. But I liked these when they first came out. The decks, of course, very, very strong. I absolutely love the decks. Don't really care for Dynamaxing. Nothing's quite as good as Megas. Dynamaxing's just a little silly. I don't really care for it. I played these like 5-6 times, maybe that's not quite high, but I don't know. Every time I played it since, it's just gotten less and less for me. It's kind of gone down the list for me a little bit. It's gotten more boring. I hear that it's very linear, and I kind of agree with that. Plus, I mean, really the only thing going for it is like the way it looks and the decks. Sorry, not the Dynamax. Beyond that, though, it gets a little bit boring. I think I'm going to put that in C as well. I think it's going to go a little bit above these. I enjoy it a lot, but it's just gotten harder to play each time. I don't know if that will change in the future, though. Diamond and Pearl. I kind of hated and resented these games for a long time when they first came out. That was like the first hater game I guess I had, but they've grown on me a lot. They're very slow, even to this day. I mean, they just feel like really slow games. Like the DS just saves and moves so slow. They're okay, though. The Dex is kind of iffy for me. I don't really care for a lot of like the extended stuff. It was just kind of meh for me. And the starters were okay. I like Torterra a lot, but it was just an okay game. It's grown on me a lot since. I think I can probably put it right here. I kind of just generically dropped it here, but I think B is kind of okay for now. And I'll be honest, I like Red and Blue way more. I even like Gen 3 way more than Gen 4, but if I'm being completely objective here, this is where I'm going to be placing it. It's just I do think it is slightly better of a game if we're being objective here. Now moving on to Sun and Moon version. Man, I was so excited for this game when it was like kind of getting all the leaks and everything, and it just kind of flopped for me. Like I said before, I'm more of a traditional Pokemon player. I want my gyms and the Elite Four, and I guess technically we got the Elite Four, but I didn't like this Trials and Trial Captains, Kahuna, all that stuff. It just felt a little ridiculous. Like I loved the island setting and like the Pokédex, like the Alolan forms and everything. All of that was just 10 out of 10 for me. I absolutely thought that was fantastic, but the final product we got just was not for me. It was not really what I wanted out of a Pokemon game, which sucks because I really loved coming off of X and Y. I thought those were great. This just it was a miss for me, so I'm popping that in D here. It's our first D on the list, but it was bound to happen eventually. Black and White. I'm pretty fond of Black and White, if I'm being honest. I'm going to put that above Scarlet and Violet and Diamond and Pearl. I hear a lot of people complain they don't really like the moving like sprite work in there. I actually thought it looked really cool. It's sort of like a soft reboot for the Pokemon series. I hear a lot, and I think that's a pretty. I think they did a pretty good job at that. I thought it was pretty fun. It was a very nostalgic time for me. I remember playing that in like the 8th grade. I'm pretty sure playing it like on a field trip. Very, very fun games. I thought they did a great job with it. It's not perfect. The team Plasma, they're kind of goofy. They're whatever. But the gym leaders and everything, I liked the setting. I liked the Unova region. I liked the decks. All of it, very, very fun. Definitely going to be putting that above Scarlet and Violet. But we are going to be putting X and Y above it. X and Y blew me out of the water. I really did not think a game could be as good as like Gen 2 games, because obviously I'm a sucker for those. But when these came out, I was blown away. Like I had to literally restart playing it after the first gym leader when I was first playing, because it was too fun. Like I had a full team of 6. I was like, I have to take a step back and just reevaluate. So I just restarted. And I played this game so much. X and Y is such a great game. Really sucks that Sun and Moon didn't do it for me, because I love the way these look on the DS. They're great. And the decks, the spread of Pokemon in this game, I felt like I could build so many different teams and it would be unique every single time. Plus, it's got the best sort of gimmick that Pokemon's ever introduced, Mega Evolutions. Very excited to see those again in ZA, but yeah, nothing since has been quite as good as Megas. Definitely A tier. I'm a sucker for Gen 2, so it's not quite as good as them for me, but definitely fantastic games. Worth playing. Now this is where I may get some heat, but I'm going to be putting these Black and White 2 in the F category. These games are abysmal in my opinion, which sucks because I did like Black and White. I see these games as where Pokemon started to fall apart a little bit for me. Like, I loved like those extended games like Yellow, Crystal, Platinum. I love that we always got that. And I think everybody was expecting Gray version. And then we didn't get Gray version. We got this. And I did not like the fusing mechanic. I also thought it was very disrespectful to Pokemon and to the original games, that if anybody should get a sequel, it should have been like Red and Blue. And Red and Blue is not even my favorite game. Like, it's literally on the C tier. But I think if anybody deserved a 2 attached to it, it would have been Red and Blue. I know we've seen Kanto like 100 times, but like, it's been the same Kanto pretty much every time. So like, I think it would be so cool to see a future Kanto, like so many years in the future. Not like futuristic, but like just a sequel to Kanto, without obviously Gold and Silver being that, like a just Kanto exclusive sequel. And we didn't get that. We got Black and White 2, and then we never really got Gray. We didn't get Z, sort of, and it's been sort of downhill in my opinion. But it's just my opinion. Please don't hate me. It's just my opinion. Not quite as bad. We've got Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I'm going to put that. Sorry, I'm going to flip that right there. It's a little bit better. Did not need to happen. Holy cow. I mean, it's just a cash grab. Like, it's the same game. It's literally the same game, which I didn't even really care for. Oh, they added Rainbow Rocket. That was a little disrespectful to Team Rocket. Like, come on. Just to use them like that. They're so cool, but it is what it is, I guess. It's a sequel to a game I didn't really care for, with stuff I didn't really care for, so it's gonna be an F, but it's not as bad as Black and White 2, in my opinion. Now we've got Yellow version. Better than Gen 1 game, or sorry, it is a Gen 1 game, but it's better than Red and Blue. I'm gonna be putting that probably in B here. I think I will put this one, for nostalgia purposes only, above Diamond and Pearl. It's literally Red and Blue, but you can get all of the starters. It's still broken, but it does fix a few things. You get the starters, you get Pikachu. It follows kind of like the anime a little bit more. Team Rocket's in there, Jesse and James are in there. Great game. I guess if you don't want to play Red and Blue, play Yellow. You'll probably like it a little bit more. You can definitely like get all the starters and just build a better team. Definitely more tolerable. And we finally have our first S tier. And just spoiler, the best Pokemon game of all time. I am 100% playing favorites here. It's my first game ever, my first Pokemon game. I still have it. It's just fantastic. It's literally the greatest generation ever. We got Gold and Silver, but Crystal is just a little bit better. It's literally the same game, but it just tweaks it, makes it a little bit more better. We've got the Suicune story, got an extra egg that's nice. You also get to play as a girl if you want, with the moving sprites as well. It makes the Gen 2 experience that much better, even though it's not perfect. Of course, we've got plenty of hacks out there that make these games even more playable, but it, in my opinion, is the best. It's my most favorite Pokemon mainline game of all time. It's S all the way, through and through. Emerald version, I guess technically it's better than Ruby and Sapphire. I'm just a Sapphire guy. Like, they're all kind of the same for me. Like I said, I have no allegiance here. I guess I'll put it above them because I know it adds like the Battle Frontier, which, you know, I don't really care for that anyways, but it's there. It's something. It's better. If you're gonna play them, I guess play this one. I don't know. I guess that's up to you. It's fine, but I'm gonna be putting that in the C category for sure. Now we do have FireRed and Leaf Green. I suppose if you're gonna play any Gen 1 experience, if like you just don't want to, but you have to, this is probably the best Gen 1 experience in my opinion. I'll probably put that Yeah, I'll put that right there. I think that's pretty good. FireRed and Leaf Green, they're fantastic games. It felt so weird playing Leaf Green, like when it came out. I was like, man, we just had these games because they all felt so new to me at the time. I was so young, but these were like the first remakes. They're great. They really are. Like they're better than Ruby and Sapphire, but they're like the same kind of gen and style and everything. But it is genuinely, in my opinion, the best way to play Gen 1. I love the originals, but this is just the best way to go. It really is. It looks so great. I don't know what to say. And obviously we get Leaf Green because we didn't get green originally, even though I chose to include it on this list kind of. But yeah, I'm going to put that there. Man, it just does feel weird. Maybe I'll do that. It does feel weird having black and white above that. I do think I like FireRed and Leaf Green a little bit more than black and white. Platinum version, this is the one I had growing up. I didn't have Diamond and Pearl growing up, but it also kind of suffered from like the same things, just being a little slow. The Dex wasn't my favorite, but I did have a fun time playing this growing up. It did have the, of course, Giratina storyline with the Shadow Realm. Not the Shadow Realm, that's not the right thing, but that thing, the different distorted dimension thing. It was very cool. Very fun game. I really liked that area. Definitely just better than Diamond and Pearl. What can I say? And we have another S tier. These are 100% the best remakes of all time. I'm partial to Crystal, so I am just putting that above that. But again, just my opinion. These are the best remakes. I mean, it's the best remakes of the best gen. It takes everything wrong with Gold and Silver and makes it better. You know, there were a lot of Pokemon that were new that you couldn't get until you got to like basically beat the game and got to the Kanto. Well, now you can actually get those a little bit early. It fixes the flaws of those games. The only thing I don't like about it is that it doesn't include that extra egg that Crystal has. It includes the Crystal storyline, which I really like, but we didn't get that extra egg from the daycare. I loved getting that in Crystal. That was like game changing to me. So I was really upset when I didn't see that in Gold and Silver, or sorry, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but definitely just peak. Best DS graphics, best story, best generation, 2 islands. Oh, that was another thing it fixed. It like added like the extra Viridian Forest and things like that, things that weren't technically in the sequel games of Gold and Silver, but they were able to put those back in these games. It's just, they're perfect. S tier. I definitely like the remakes better than the originals of Ruby and Sapphire. We got Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. I'm going to put those at the beginning, I guess, of C tier here. They're fun. Same thing. They get a little boring. There's something about it that just gets a little boring. Not as, like, literally that halfway point I was talking about in the remakes is where you, like, get the Eon Flute. Like, something about that point in the original. Obviously, you don't get the Eon Flute with Latios and everything. But, like, that's the point I'm talking about, where I get really bored. Not as boring in these remakes. It adds Megas, which, of course, is really cool. I think that's what kind of keeps it alive for me. But just in general, a little boring, but definitely better than everything else on this tier list. A little bit. Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. It's a controversial game. I know a lot of people don't like it. It is weird not having like that battle mechanic. I'm kind of a Pokemon Go player, so I didn't hate the catching thing. It didn't really bother me too much, but I definitely think it would have been stronger if we had that battle mechanic, that outside wild battle mechanic. But definitely a fun way to play the Gen 1 games. I enjoy these games. I really do. I will maybe do that. I'll put them right there. I will put them right there. I'm literally debating if I want to change up a lot of my list right now, but we've got to commit. This is what we're at right now. And last but not least, another maybe controversial game, another remake here. We've got Diamond and Pearl, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, I think is what it's called. I'm just going to drop it right there for right now. I liked these. I know a lot of people didn't. I think they definitely took it too seriously when they said Faithful Remake, and they literally gave us that, because I think obviously we should have gotten the Platinum story in there. It was weird that we didn't. I can agree. They're not perfect, but I know a lot of people ragged on like the chibi art style. That didn't really bother me. I did not hate that there. Is it better than the original? I don't know. I don't know that it is. Obviously, it doesn't feel as slow to me, but the colors in this game, and even the original too, they're just not as colorful as like Black and White and Heart Gold and Soul Silver. That might be where I put it. It's strange that I only have one thing in D though, but I mean, everything in C I think is fine. I mean, everything where it is I think is genuinely fine. I guess this is going to be my list here. We've got, of course, Crystal at the very top here, and we've got Black and White 2 down at the very bottom. Everything else is sandwiched in the middle, as you see here. This is, of course, my final list, and of course, just my opinion. I know there's some controversial picks here and some strange rankings, but like I said in the beginning, I definitely want to hear what your opinions are down below. This is all just my opinion. I had my own experiences growing up and my own, ways of experiencing Pokemon. So this is just how I was shaped. This is just how I was conditioned to like Pokemon. But please let me know down below what your guys' thoughts are on my list, and definitely let me know what your list and where everything you would rank is. I definitely want to know that. Also, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to like it and subscribe. And if you have anything else you want to let me know, feel free to put that in the comments down below. And until next time, I'll see you later.